Hi, I'm Dana, and today I really want to talk about autistic support needs, because I feel like the term support needs is something that's thrown around all the time, but people don't really talk about what they are. And it took me a really long time after like researching autism and everything to be like, so what are the needs then? Like I'm out here just struggling and finding everything really difficult, and I'm being told like, oh well, that's because autistic people have certain types of support need. And I'm like, okay, like I get that, I totally agree, but what are they? What are they? What are my support needs? I know that I struggle with like everything, so it's really hard to narrow it down from, oh yeah, everything is hard all the time, to like, I need help with this. And recently I'm in a position where I have friends who offer me support, and they offer to help me, and they offer to do the things that I can't, and I've started to actually take them up on it and accept their help, and it makes me feel really horrible inside. I can't quite place the feeling. I'm not sure if it's shame, I'm not sure if it's embarrassment, I'm not sure what it is. But like, I moved out of my parents' house at 16 and immediately started essentially being the mother to a full-grown man who was like 5 years older than me, and I was 16. It was all very dodgy, but like I've had to develop this like hyper-independence and this like, I can do it myself, I can do anything I need to do. I might not do it well, I might not do it in time, you know, like I'm probably gonna fuck up a whole lot along the way, but I can do whatever I need to do. I will do it. And I'll be terrified, I'll be super fucking anxious, but I can do anything. Anything I need to, I can do. And it does sort of feel like admitting defeat by being like, actually, I can't do all this. Like, I have so much stuff that's just slipping to the wayside and that I'm not getting done, and that I'm like cripplingly anxious about. And like my brain, because I'm so anxious, when I try to do it, I just like shut down and I cannot process a thing, and I just have a meltdown. You know, there's things in my life that I increasingly just cannot do and have not been able to keep up with, and I didn't feel like I had any choice but to accept the help from my friends, because nowhere else is offering any sort of support. And having someone else there to be like, well, you haven't done this, so you need help with that, and you struggle with this, so we can do this. Like, I have had to have someone that knows like the details of my life incredibly intimately and knows me extremely well to be able to actually look at things and be like, this is where you need support. I could not do it myself. I literally full on could not do it, you know? And people love being like, oh well, you seem so smart, you seem like this and you seem like this, surely if you just tried, surely if you just did this. I can't. Like, I have a diagnosed disability. There are some things that I just cannot do. And that's what we're gonna get into. The specificities, the specifications, the exact things that I need support with, and that I'm now actually getting support with through building my own community, because no one else seems to give a shit about autistic people. Like, the more I've learned about myself and about autism in general, I'm so mind blown that they will just diagnose someone with level 2 autism spectrum disorder and say you need substantial support, and then not give you any support at all. They just leave you. It's wild to me. But I am finally in a position where, through my own work and my own community that I've built with other autistic and neurodivergent people, I'm able to actually get some support. So the first thing is that I cannot handle admin. I've been sort of clinging to things and scraping at things and trying my absolute very best, but I cannot deal with just like the daily admin of day-to-day life. I can't do phone calls, I will forget about appointments. If I know that I have time before I need to submit something or do something or whatever else, I will leave it until like the last moment, because it makes me so anxious, and then I will use that anxiety to like panic and push myself through doing it and just get it in and get it done and be over it, you know? So I yesterday went to my friend's house and we sat down together, and they took all of my information, all of my login details, all of the phone numbers that I'm supposed to ring, all of the appointments that I'm still need to book. Like, I haven't gotten around to even booking the appointments, you know? All like, because I also have like a whole bunch of physical health things that I just haven't dealt with, because like sorting a doctor's appointment and going to the doctor and advocating for myself, I can't do it. It's a massive struggle every single time I've tried. And like I say, I've tried and it's not gotten anywhere. I try and do things, and because I'm not doing it in just the right way, it doesn't go anywhere, and I'm just left to fucking rot. So I now have a friend that's stepping in as my carer in that area and is going to sort all that stuff for me. They're going to be making my phone calls, they're going to be like, they'll probably end up sorting payments for me. I know that there's definitely things that I need to pay that, like, I'm not at a point where I need to pay it right now just yet, but like, it's gonna get there, and I probably won't have the money. So if we can get on that sooner than later, like, that would be best ideally. But it's all stuff that like, when I'm dealing with it on my own, I literally could not process it. Like I would be like, I need to do that thing. And it's like my brain just turns off. Like I physically like cannot get myself to think about it. Whereas now that I know that the full responsibility isn't on my shoulders and my friend is going to predominantly sort it, it's so much easier to think about and be like, oh, actually, I need to do this too. And they're going to put it in their list and we're going to get around to it, you know? Like, I still have to do it with them because obviously it's my life admin stuff. A lot of people, like, a lot of places won't let someone else just do it for you. I at least have to, like, come on the phone and be like, I confirm this person can talk for me. Like, we obviously still have to do it together. I'm still involved. But just knowing that the entire weight on it isn't on my shoulders, I literally just need to show up and be there. Just the overall absolute relief. And, like, I feel like I can actually somewhat relax for the first time in quite a long time, you know? Like, it genuinely felt like my body, like, tension-wise, relaxed a little bit when they were like, no, I'm going to do this for you now. You don't need to worry about that. Like, I genuinely can't put words into how much of a relief it was. Just, it felt like an entire section of my brain, like, reopened for me to be able to use and think with. It's so much, you know? But obviously, I don't have a full-time carer and I'm not going to expect my autistic best friend to be my full-time carer. So that means that there's still a bunch of day-to-day stuff that I have to do, like eating, drinking, going places, doing the grocery shop, having a shower, you know, all that stuff. And that's where, again, I needed someone who, like, intimately knows the details of my life and my personality and how I am as a person to be able to suggest actually useful accommodations. Because I won't lie, sharing my struggles online, I get so many people commenting, oh, just do this. This is such an easy accommodation. You can do this. Why haven't you tried this? I have tried it. Okay? I'm researching autism all the time. I watch so much autistic content. If there's an accommodation, chances are I have actually given it a go. But it's taken someone being able to be like, well, if we combine this with this, and if you try this, and if you just let yourself off on this one, you don't need to worry about that as much. Having someone that can actually help me implement and figure out the actual accommodations that are going to be useful is so helpful. Like I mentioned in a video a little while back that I really struggle to shower, and I had a bunch of people suggest really fucking useless accommodations. I'm sorry if it was you. I'm 26 years old and I've struggled with these things my entire life. Wearing sunglasses in the shower to prevent the light isn't going to work for me because I can't deal with the feeling of sunglasses on my face. That's the thing, is like I have so many light sensitivities. I can't deal with something sitting on my face, and yet I'll receive so many comments from people that are like, just wear sunglasses. Do you not think if it's such an easy accommodation I'd have made it by now? Like, I'm 26 years old. I've been dealing with this my entire life. If an easy accommodation was going to work, I would have done it. And that's what makes, like, the day-to-day things so tricky, because I know that people do find accommodations, and I'm sure there's an accommodation out there that will work for each individual thing that will help me, but actually finding the accommodation is really tough. And it's also really frustrating when people just over and over and over suggest the same accommodation or the most basic accommodation when it's not one that actually works for me. And I've especially realised that this is a thing for me recently because you know, whenever I've filled out PIP forms, whenever I've, like, done any of that kind of stuff, there's always the bit that asks about how you get around, and I'm like, I don't understand bus timetables and train timetables and all of that stuff, where it's like, I don't understand how I'm supposed to know which bus stop I'm getting on a bus at. Like, if it's not from the bus station, then it's just some random bit of road, and I'm supposed to somehow know what that bit of road's called so I can look up the timetable so I know what time my bus is coming. And, like, the train things where it's just, like, again, I'm not going all the way to, like, London, Oxford or whatever. So, like, if that's not the, like, if my stop isn't the name of the train, so I don't understand how I'm supposed to know which train is mine when it doesn't list the stops. It just says the main train and I'm not going to that place. You know, like, there's so much to do with it that I don't understand. But obviously I also don't really use buses and trains all that often, so it doesn't really matter that much that I don't understand it. I mean, it does, because maybe I would use them more often if I did understand it, but it means that I walk pretty much everywhere. And the thing with that is that they're like, oh, okay, so you walk everywhere. And it's like, yeah, I do. But also, I got lost coming back from my best friend's house the other night. I go to my friend's house probably at least once a week, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times. They also live near a street that I, like, often visit because it's got good coffee shops and stuff. I'm going to this place probably upwards of, like, 3 or 4 times a week sometimes. Mostly 1 or 2 times, so let's face it. But, like, I know my way there and back, you know, realistically I should. I do it all the time. It's the same route that I do. I got lost. Like, it happens all the time. Like, I would say that, like, most times, honestly, that I go out, most times that I leave my house, I know where I'm going. I've been there 100 times. And I'm like, yeah, the route should be in there. I use the same route every time. And, like, 8 times out of 10, it is fine. Like, on the, like, most of the time, I do get to the place with, like, minimal hiccup, you know? But at least once a week, I end up walking an extra hour to 2 hours because I just get lost. I don't know how it happens. I'm following my route, I know where I'm going, and then all of a sudden it's not my route and I'm in a place that I don't recognise, I don't know where I am, I don't know how to get home, so I have to get maps up, and I really, really struggle to read maps. Like, I know that the little blue dots mean, I know these are all the streets, you know, like, realistically, I know how a map works, but actually processing it to understand where I'm meant to go, I don't, like, it's a massive struggle, you know, like, I have this support need of, like, I can't fucking travel on my own. Like, I realistically, like, the only way that I can think of accommodating to this is getting Ubers everywhere and getting a taxi, you know? And I can't afford that. No one can afford that. So, like, I have this autistic support need. I don't know what accommodation to fill it with. I don't know what to do about it. And that goes right down to, like, not being able to eat food a lot of the time, you know? Like, I often don't have the energy. It's a whole mental process to cook a meal. I can't afford to just order takeout all the time, even though that would honestly be the accommodation, I think. Like, I don't need a carer to come in and cook my meals, but also I will forget to eat. I won't be able to eat food. I won't know what I want to eat, and then I'll just put it off for hours and hours and hours and then be like, I can't eat anymore because I feel weird now. You know, I have so many issues with just, like, day-to-day things where, like, it obviously is something I need support with, and it's obviously something I need to accommodate around. I just don't know what to do. And the final thing is something that I feel like most people wouldn't think about, and it's definitely not, like, a medical, like, it's not something doctors would pay attention to, but one of, like, the really major things that I feel like is an autistic support need, and that I absolutely do require from my friends, and that my friends have done for me, is telling me when a situation that I'm in is unsafe or abusive or not the way things should be. And the final thing I want to talk about is one that I don't feel like any, like, medical professional or whatever would take seriously, and it's not really on them, you know, but I have to be told when things aren't normal. And I don't like the term normal because it's one of those where every single person will have a different concept of what normal is. I don't think there necessarily is a normal, but things like my friend that's helping me do all of, like, my physical health and, like, admin stuff and everything is getting me doctor's appointments because they think I have EDS, because I have all of these, like, weird pains in my bodies, and I have, like, some weird, like, collagen growth things on my feet. There's a whole bunch of shit going on, you know? But it was then, like, I remember, like, being like I'd stood up and my knees cracked and I, like, cringed a little bit because my back hurt, and they were like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And they were like, well, what was that? And I was like, oh, you know when you stand up and, like, all of your muscles sort of hurt for a minute, it feels like your ribs are floating and you feel like your back might sort of, like, bend in half, but then you're all right after a sec. And you know, and they were like, I do know what that's like, but also they are physically disabled, you know, like, they know what it's like and it's not a good thing. So I was like, shit, is that not how people feel? Like, is that not just how people feel? And they were like, no, Dana. And I started, like, listening, like, oh yeah, now that you've mentioned it, I actually have this pain and this thing hurts and sometimes this other thing happens. But, like, I fully didn't think that I had a single thing going on with me physically, because I just thought that I was all normal. Like, I just thought everybody has weird aches and pains and things that feel a bit out of place and things that, like, hurt, you know? And as much as that obviously does, like, kind of apply to medical professionals, I also require that in just, like, general situations. Like, I was in an 8-year relationship that for, like, 7 of those years I thought was a really nice relationship. I genuinely, like, I was like, sometimes he's not the best, sometimes he does this, sometimes he does that, but, like, overall we love each other and it's a nice relationship. And it took me making friends with people who saw more of, like, the workings of the relationship and were eventually like, that's straight up abusive. This thing that he just did is abusive. Or I'd be telling a story of the time that I thought he was a little bit shitty, and they'd be like, Dana, that is actually terrible. No one should treat you like that. And I'd be like, isn't it normal? Is that not a normal thing in a relationship? You know, and that largely comes because, like, my family normalised a lot of things, I won't lie. I don't think it's entirely, like, that I'm autistic. But I think a bunch of it is that I don't have a concept of what is normal. So when I end up in, like, unsafe or, like, just generally not good situations, or when I have things going on physically or whatever else, or just generally things that need to be looked into and that other people would be like, that's not normal, I need someone to tell me, hey, that's not normal. Like, I have such a little concept of the things that are normal that I just normalise everything, and it's put me in some horrible situations. And yeah, that's where we're finishing this video. What a cheerful one, eh? But yeah, I am really glad to be able to be getting support from my friend, but I do also feel like quite guilty and shameful and just like not very good about needing to have support from a friend, you know? But also, I wouldn't think twice if it was me offering that for them, you know? I help them with all sorts of like physical stuff they need doing, because that's just what you do for friends, and they're just doing like the mental load of my stuff. So like, you know, I get it and I can keep telling myself that, but I haven't quite fully accepted it and dealt with it and like feeling good about it yet, but I think I will. And I am like, I cannot explain how incredibly thankful and grateful and lucky I am, and like privileged and everything else, to have friends that are willing to do that kind of thing for me, and friends who are willing to accommodate and support me in the ways that they are. You know, like I've had 26 years of not having anybody like actually genuinely support me and like even attempt to accommodate to me, you know? Like my entire life I've not had people like that, so I really do understand how incredibly like fortunate and just like lucky and privileged and everything else that I am. Like I'm mind blown by the fact that I have these people in my life and I absolutely adore them. Like it's really, you know, like I'm not taking it with a pinch of salt and being like, that's what friends do. Like I do think it's what friends are meant to do, but I also know that it's not what most do, and I am very lucky, and I just wanted to throw that in. But yeah, I post here 3 times a week on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays if you would like to see more content from me. I post daily over on TikTok, and I post sporadically at best on Instagram, but they'll all be linked down below if you would like to follow me. And I will also link my Ko-fi and Patreon if you would like to donate any money to me. You don't have to. I think we might have just been announced as actually going into a recession here in the UK, so like, it's not even cost of living anymore. Like, we are well and truly fucked. So if you haven't got it, you're fine. Like, I'm not expecting anyone to send me money. But if anybody would like to, I'd love to survive the recession and the cost of living crisis. Woo! But yeah, I'm gonna go now. It's been lovely talking to you. It's been lovely talking to you. What kind of fucking outro is that? Whoever you are, wherever you are, if you have a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year. And I will see you again in a couple of days.